A 6-year-old girl endured daily suffering, unseen by her millionaire father's eyes, while her cruel stepmother maintained her perfect facade. But a raven watched every tear and every act of neglect, preparing to reveal the dark truth. The morning sun barely crept through the mansion's silk drapes, but for little Sophia, aged 6, the light brought only the promise of yet another day of shadows. Sitting at the breakfast table, silence was her only companion, while her stepmother Ilara flipped through a fashion magazine with calculated indifference. "Sophia, dear, aren't you going to eat your porridge? You know Mommy worries about your health," Ilara said, without even lifting her eyes from the page. Her voice was sweet as honey, but to Sophia it sounded like a cold hiss. The porridge, untouched, grew cold in the bowl. The girl merely nodded, her eyes fixed on the porcelain, avoiding the woman's gaze. Outside, perched on the dining room windowsill, Corvus observed. His black, piercing eyes missed nothing. He had seen Ilara's hand squeeze Sophia's arm the day before, under the pretense of correcting her posture. He'd seen the fake smiles and the venomous words, disguised as advice. The raven, with its peculiar intelligence, sensed the malice emanating from that woman, a dark aura that contrasted with the child's fragile purity. That afternoon, Corvus followed Ilara. She locked herself in her husband's study, a place she rarely entered. The raven landed on the window, watching her through the gap in the curtains. Ilara was sitting at the large mahogany desk, not with her husband's papers, but her own. She typed furiously on the computer, her brow furrowed in concentration. Printouts emerged from the printer, and Ilara reviewed them with a satisfied, cruel smile. Corvus saw when she picked up a sheet of letterhead, with a crest he vaguely recognized from the mail. It was a formal document. Ilara read it aloud to herself. In a whisper the raven barely caught, but enough to grasp the essence. Need for a more structured environment for children with emotional challenges, boarding school, temporary removal. It was an eviction letter, not from a house, but from Sophia's life. A plan to send her away, to isolate her even further under the guise of specialized care. Ilara folded the letter carefully and placed it in an envelope with her husband's name, Mr. Arthur Vance, written in elegant calligraphy. She left it on the desk, ready to be discovered by Arthur. Corvus felt a chilling shiver, a primordial rage. That woman was a predator, and the girl, her prey. The raven waited. Night fell, and Ilara left the study, locking the door. But she made a mistake. She left the window slightly ajar to ventilate. With a silent flight, Corvus entered. The darkness of the study was almost total, but his sharp eyes found the white envelope on the desk. He landed softly, his delicate talons on the paper. The smell of fresh ink and the malignant intent imbued in the letter were palpable. With a strong, precise beak, Corvus grasped the envelope. It was heavier than he expected, but his determination was greater. He exited through the same gap, the envelope secure in his beak. He flew past the mansion, through the trees, to the master bedroom window where Arthur Vance, the millionaire blinded by love, slept deeply. Corvus nudged the window with his head, opening it just enough to enter. He landed on the bedside table, right next to Arthur's alarm clock. With a swift, precise movement, the raven released the envelope. It fell softly onto the stack of books Arthur read before bed. Then, without a sound, Corvus flew out, disappearing into the night's darkness. His mission was complete. The truth now was in the hands of the man who needed to see it. The next morning, Arthur awoke to his alarm. He reached out to turn it off, and his fingers brushed against a strange object. It was an envelope. "What's this?" he murmured to himself, confused. He didn't remember leaving anything there. The handwriting on the front was Ilara's. He opened the envelope. His eyes scanned the lines of the document, and initial confusion gave way to icy disbelief. Boarding school for children with emotional challenges? The letter detailed a plan to send Sophia away, with technical terms and language that sounded official, but which to Arthur was completely unfamiliar. His mind, once so blinded by passion, began to process the cold malice behind his wife's facade of virtue. A knot formed in his stomach. He looked towards the bedroom door, where Ilara still slept, and a shadow of distrust, never before felt, began to grow in his heart. Arthur couldn't go back to sleep. He rose silently, put on a bathrobe, and went to the window. The sun was beginning to paint the sky in soft shades of pink and orange, but the morning's beauty couldn't dissipate the darkness that had settled in his mind. He reread the letter, each word now feeling like a cold blow. Boarding school for children with emotional challenges. Sophia had no emotional challenges, other than the sadness he now realized had been imposed upon her. The formal language, the suggestion of temporary removal, it all sounded like a carefully laid trap. When Ilara finally awoke, she found Arthur sitting in the armchair beside the bed, the fake eviction letter in his hands. His eyes, usually full of passion and admiration for her, were now clouded by a coldness she had never seen. "Good morning, darling," she said, her voice still a little sleepy but with a practiced smile. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Arthur held up the letter. "Is this yours, Ilara?" His voice was low but carried an authority that made her flinch slightly. Ilara blinked, genuine surprise mixed with a pang of panic. "What's that?" "Oh yes, it's a document I found. I thought it would be good for Sophia, you know, to help her with her little issues." She tried to sit up, adjusting her hair. "I was going to talk to you about it later, but you know how proactive I am." "Proactive?" Arthur stood up, the crumpled letter in his hand. "You were planning to send my daughter to a boarding school, Ilara, without consulting me, without even mentioning the idea?" "It's not just any boarding school, Arthur. It's a specialized place with professionals. Sophia needs a more structured environment. She's a difficult child. Don't you see how she isolates herself? How she doesn't eat?" Ilara tried to approach him, her hand outstretched. "I only want what's best for her, for us, for our family." The mention of our family rang hollow. Arthur recoiled. "No, Ilara, you want what's best for yourself. To get rid of a child you see as a hindrance." Arthur's voice began to tremble, not with anger, but with deep pain and overwhelming regret. "I've been blinded by your facade of virtue, by your false sweetness. But now I see." Ilara tried to argue, her eyes welling up. "You're misjudging me, Arthur. I am a mother to her. I love her." "You love her?" Arthur laughed. A bitter sound. "You neglect her, Ilara. You isolate her. I saw it. I didn't want to see, but now, with this letter in my hands, all the pieces fit. The words you whispered, the glances, the untouched porridge. The raven showed me the truth." Ilara paled. "The raven? What are you talking about?" "It doesn't matter," Arthur cut in, his voice firm. "What matters is that I won't allow you to hurt Sophia for another day." He took a deep breath, the decision crystal clear in his mind. "Our marriage is over, Ilara. I want you to pack your things and leave this house. Today." Ilara gaped, the tears that had seemed rehearsed before now genuine shock. "You can't be serious. Where would I go? What would people say?" "That's no longer my concern," Arthur replied, turning to the window. "My only concern now is Sophia and ensuring she is safe and loved." Shortly after, Sophia, drawn by the muffled sounds of the argument, appeared at the bedroom door, her eyes wide and frightened. She saw the tension in the air, Ilara's pale face and her father's rigid posture. Arthur turned, and upon seeing Sophia, His face softened. He knelt, opening his arms. "Sophia, my love," he said, his voice full of a tenderness the girl rarely heard from him. "Come here, my angel." Sophia hesitated for a moment, then ran into her father's arms, who embraced her with protective strength. He held her tight, feeling her small body tremble. "It's all right now, my love. Daddy is here, and Daddy will take care of you, always." Elara watched the scene, the image of a family she had tried to destroy, now uniting against her. Without a word, she turned and began to pack her things, her facade of virtue finally crumbling. Outside, perched on Sophia's bedroom windowsill, Corvus watched. His black, intelligent eyes captured the scene, Arthur embracing his daughter, Elara's figure leaving the room. The morning sunlight flooded the room, and for the first time in a long while, the mansion seemed to breathe a lighter, purer air. The truth had been revealed, and with it, the promise of a new, peaceful and safe beginning for little Sophia. The raven, its mission accomplished, flapped its wings and flew into the blue sky, leaving behind the mansion and its new inhabitants, now free from the shadows.